Hello, bsn2g!
I am Miley Casales.
I am Jaime Nataya.
I am Jeffrey Kinisala.
And I am Jose Remy Paclibar Jr.
And we are about to discuss
Distance learning.
Well, what is distance learning? Distance learning has a long history. It began over 150 years ago in the form of correspondence or home study courses and has evolved to its newest form of web-based courses. Think of distance learning as any method to connect teachers and learners who are geographically separated. Distance learning today encompasses correspondence courses and courses delivered by satellite, television broadcasting, or telephone lines. The technology involves two-way audio or two-way audio and video technology. Courses delivered by computer via the internet and the World Wide Web are proliferating. In this chapter, the discussion will first center on the issues and factors that are common to most forms of distance learning. Then more specific informations will be given about interactive television modalities and web-based courses because those are the forms of distance education that are on the cutting edge of technology today. The distance learning has its advantages and disadvantages also. The literature describes the benefits and drawbacks of distance learning from the perspectives of both the learner and the teacher. The foremost benefit is that people in rural areas or those who are homebound can have greater access to information and even educational degrees. Learners who used to have to travel several hours to attend courses or educational sessions can now receive the information in their home or at a local site. Other benefits include the accessibility of a larger variety of courses, the ability to learn on one's own time frame, the self-directed nature of the learning experience, and the opportunity to learn more about technology. For institutions providing the educational material, distance learning can result in cost savings. While, on the other hand, the primary drawbacks to distance learning include lack of face-to-face contact with the teacher and the technology glitches that may be as severe as the system shutting down and being inaccessible. Some learners may not be able to access the hardware and software they need, and some may struggle with learning to use the technology and at the same time, they are supposed to be learning the content. Some may not learn well with less structure in the educational experiences, and some may experience feelings of alienation. Those things are the disadvantages and the advantages of distance learning. Clinical education in distance learning. One more issue that is common to the various forms of distance learning is the provision of clinical education. If some form of video or computer technology is being used and learners do not have to come to a campus or central clinical agency, how is clinical learning achieved? The answer is that, generally, learners are paired up with preceptors in clinical sites near their homes. A clinical site coordinator is usually hired to arrange these placements. In baccalaureate, the master's degree programs, site coordinators usually are hired as part-time faculty and must have at least a master's degree. And in continuing education programs, the site coordinator may need only a bachelor's degree. The role of the site coordinator varies by program. The site coordinator in programs using off-site telecommunications classroom may help the learners become familiar with the technology. He or she may be present during broadcasting and help to facilitate the class at the remote site. The role may also encompass student recruitment, advisement, and testing. Often, the facilitator becomes a major source of professional and emotional support for the learners. Whether the program is being delivered by television or by computer technology, the site coordinator is hired to seek out and make formal arrangements with the preceptors. Orientation of preceptor and evaluation of student learning is also part of the role. In some undergraduate programs in which distance learning is being conducted by interactive television, part-time faculty who live near the remote site are hired to teach clinical courses. The clinical instructor are familiar with the resources in their geographic areas and can provide a rich learning experience for students. Bear in mind that close communication between the faculty on campus and clinical faculty is essential in this case.
To start, interactive television classes. A typical interactive television or ITV classroom contains a teaching podium with a control panel for the cameras and monitors, a microphone for the teacher, a computer hookup, a document camera, somewhat like an overhead projector, and a fax machine. Also, in front of the room is a large television monitor capable of showing several remote sites at one time or showing the teacher to the remote sites. The teacher usually wears a tracking device so the camera follows him or her around the front of the room. In back of the room are several monitors that enable the teacher to see the students at the remote sites. There is a VCR attached to the front of the monitor for both recording and playing purposes. At each student's desk, there is a microphone and a control pad that moves the camera towards the student when he or she activates the microphone. There are variations of the equipment, but in most configurations, the plan is to allow each teaching learning site to be visible and heard, and to allow maximum interaction between teacher and students, and between students and students. Each remote site is similarly equipped, so translation can occur from any site. The full motion video images and voices are carried over special telephone line. Compressed video technology is less expensive to install because it can be transmitted over regular telephone lines, but the quality of the video is not as good as in full motion video. The ITV classroom is very expensive to build, equip, and operate. For the reason, many distance education programs are combining or replacing ITV classroom transmission with internet-based classes. However, for the near future, many programs will continue to rely on the ITV approach. When first confronted with this high-tech classroom, instructors may be very intimidated. It is important that they be well-oriented to the equipment and conduct at least one trial run before beginning to teach. The instructor needs to know about such basic detail as paying attention to his or her clothing. Solid colors transmit the best, and the teacher should avoid very dark or very light colors. Shiny jewelry should be avoided because it can cause too much reflection and be distracting. The new instructor must learn about pedagogical issues that are important when teaching in an ITV classroom. For example, he or she not only must learn how to operate the equipment, but also must be comfortable enough with it that it becomes almost invisible during the learning experience. Students also need to be oriented to the equipment. They should be aware that they must press the microphone on the desk if they want to speak, and that the camera will move to put them on the screen when they do so. If the teacher does not bring up the subject of possible student discomfort with the microphone and camera, some students will think they are only one who do not like being on center stage. Discussing the possible discomfort can help students to feel freer to take the first step to pressing microphone control.